That we're thinking about officers very shortly. My talk is based around that. And my title is, What Can I Do? I thought of a parable in the scriptures, and a parable is an earthly story with a heavenly message. And the particular parable I chose was about a man who was quite wealthy. He was going on a trip, and so he gave out talents. In Scripture, talents meant money, but we could think of talents also as personal gifts that we each have. When this rich man gave out the talents, he gave 5 to one man, and around 3 to another, and 1 to another. And the man was gone for quite a while, and so these first 2 people that got most of the talents used them, and they multiplied. But the one that only had 1 didn't use it at all. So when the rich man came back and questioned them, each one could testify to how their talents had multiplied, except the one that buried the only talent he was given. And so this is something to think about. And I thought of 2 personal things that happened in my own life way back. One was in our church group, a lady became leader, and I met her in the parking lot, and I congratulated her, and she said, "Oh, Emma, I think it would be good if we could think of something interesting once in a while to make the meetings good." And I had just read a Christian book, and I said, "Well, how about if we have book reports on Christian reading?" And she sweetly looked at me and said, "How about you?" And I thought, oh boy, and I says, "Oh, I never did anything like that. I couldn't think of it." And she was very calm and sweet, and I admired her life. She was working in an office, but she was taking courses, and she became a high school teacher. And she said, "Talking isn't so bad. You just make a short outline of your thoughts, and then you talk around them, and there you have a speech." So with the faith that she had, I had to say, okay. And so, it wasn't bad at all, and I actually enjoyed it. And another thing that happened in my life in high school days was that in the class yearbook, when you're a senior, they have a class will, class prophecy, and the class poem. And the students are encouraged to write one of these. And if yours is selected, it gets printed in the book. And I thought that was pretty good. So we had a Christmas vacation, and so I decided to write the class will. And after I came back to school, a teacher called me in, and she says, "Oh, Miss Schmidt," that's my maiden name. "Oh, Miss Schmidt, we picked your class will." And she said they were all pretty much alike, but yours had a little tang of humor. And then she said, "But you'll have to read it at the class banquet. Everyone who wrote these items, the prophecy, will, and the poem, would sit at the speaker's table and read it to the entire class." And I says, "Oh, if I knew that, I never would have written it." And she says, "Now, Miss Schmidt, don't say that." And I had to come after school a few times, and she told the proper way: you face the right, then you face the left, and then you address different ones, And so there I went to the class banquet and sat at the speaker's table. At first I was shaking like a leaf, but the people laughed in the right places. And the funny thing is, after I was wishing I had more to read. And so the moral of the story is that each of us have something, and it takes a little courage to use what you have. Sometimes you might feel you only have one. You can't say that you're without anything. You have at least one. And sometimes with fear and trembling, you might use that one thing. But the parable shows us that when you use the one thing, it could be multiplied. One thing leads to another, and you could have more than that one. And so the thought for today is that I want to leave you with, what can I do to count